Welcome back to this Mr. YouTube channel, guys. Today, this is a mashup of videos, but what we're doing is we're back working on the Vr6, and we're getting that subframe in today. And I'll show you another subframe as well, because we got to put some stuff in today, because the Vr6 is going in, and we gotta get it done. It's now the off season, so we're trying to get this done. There's a few events that I want to get to early spring, so we're starting right for it. So we cut out a bunch of metal. I just threw some paint on, just simply so it would look all uniform. It's just spray paint, but I plan on, after all this is done, doing an actual paint job, because I think there is more to cut out. I was thinking about this stuff to cut out, but we'll get into that later. So as of now, we're here, and everything is now ready for this Mark III subframe to go in. If you guys remember, hopefully there will be a link either in the description or up top that will show you guys. This is a Mark III subframe. It can bolt directly in. These two mounting points are exactly the same. Mark II, Mark III, same. The only thing that is different with a Mark III subframe is that back here where the sway bar is on a Mark II, this is cut. On a Mark III, this is extended, because think of it as leverage. So if your sway bar is working, if you have a little bit more leverage back here and this is bolted into the body, you get a little bit better leverage on your suspension. Some people cut this off, but what I like to do is when I put it up there, I'm gonna drill and put a riv nut into the body, and we will utilize this hole. It's a little bit extra weight, but I think the added benefits are pretty substantial, so I'm fine with doing that. One thing that I did do, you guys remember this is a brand new rack. I did go ahead and I bought the EA Engineering Power Steering Delete. Now, I have done this in the past and I hated it, but I also did it in the car when there was no fluid in the rack. So I'm giving this a second chance. What I did was I laid this up against my toolbox over there, and I filled it with the power steering fluid and kept rotating it back until it was completely filled to the brim with fluid. So this is 100% filled with power steering fluid, and then I put this on there. So now there's an air chamber right here, and it should move and it should work. For now, I figured that's the easiest time to do it. I can clean everything up now. So all we have to do now is get the bolts ready to go. I've cleaned up one of the bolts, found a new bolt for the other one, so we should be able just to put this in. I got a bunch of these have so many different names. Crow's foot is what I call it. Drift pin. Some people even call it lady fingers, which I have no clue what that's about. But basically, you can put it through the hole, and then you can kind of stick it out the other side and pry the body to the subframe holes, because you'll go up through the rack and you'll find this and find the hole, and then you'll kind of line everything up. So that's what we're doing. Don't forget to grease up all of your bolts. You can put anti-seize on them. I don't have any anti-seize, so I'm just gonna slather them with grease. Yeah, it should be just fine. I'm on the last bolt. One thing I forgot to tell you guys is that the OEM Mark II subframe bolts, they won't work. You need the Mark III bolts, and in my case, I don't have them. So I got lucky, because from the Mark II subframe, I was able to use the two long bolts from there, and then the front control arm bolts that bolt in through the front of the control arm from the Mark II. I was able to take those out, and I put these ones in the rear. So worked out. Just make sure you have the bolt. I can raise it up.
He's crazy.
now that everything's up under its own weight, it kind of self-centers. So now you can just do the crisscross the 2 bolts. So you can see what I was talking about with this, how it doesn't, it fills this cubby hole. So if you cut this off right here, you could use it and you'd have a sway bar, but you would see how it would kind of lose some rigidity. So down here, it's bolted up nice and flush. I'm going to use a transfer punch through that. Same thing over here, transfer punch through that. Then I'm going to drop everything down and we'll drill out the holes for the rib nuts. This is what's called a transfer punch. You can get these at Harbor Freight real cheap. Put it in the hole. You can see it fits pretty snug. So then all you gotta do is just flip it around, put it in. It's got this point, so as soon as you hammer it, it'll be dead center of the hole. So now we just gotta lower the car back down, drop it on here, raise it back up, drill the holes, rib nut. Should be pretty easy. So I forgot to film doing the rib nuts, but they're installed, and I forgot they're actually M8 by 125s. So here's the bolt, goes right in. Just make sure you paint everything. I'm using stainless rib nuts, so hopefully there won't be any issues, but I still threw paint in this hole up and everything, and before I put the rib nut in too. So now all we gotta do is lower everything down, do the final install of the subframe, and I'll show you guys what it looks like. One other thing I forgot to note, guys, is that you have to leave these front control arm bolts loose. If these are tight, when you go to put this rear control arm bolt in, it's going to want to be shifted and you'll be prying it. It'll be a huge nightmare. So make sure you leave these loose, get these started, get them run up snug, then tighten them up, then finish tightening these up. Don't forget them. So all those are tight. And then you can see back here, I have the short 13 in down here. You can see this is nice and flush up to the body. So we are good to go. This subframe is completely bolted in. Don't forget again about tightening up your steering column. Basically now, since the Mark III system is in there, you could go and start putting knuckles on, brakes, that kind of stuff. But what I'm gonna do now is get the front subframe. Now you cannot use a Mark III front subframe. It has to be out of a B3, B4 Passat or a Corrado. You'll see right here how the bolts are lined up. You have these holes are kind of straight on, whereas a Mark III, this front mount bolt would be right here, but then the other one would be on an angle like way back over here. So that's the only thing that's different. Everything's fighting me as usual, but what I was saying about the Mark III mount or subframe, this is the Mark III subframe, and you can see how it kind of angles out that way. It just 100% won't fit on Corrados, Passats, and Mark IIs. So this is a Corrado, or it's a Passat, but it's the same. Here's the part number right here. You guys get it. And this will bolt directly into a Mark II, and then give you the Mark III Corrado Passat style mount that'll bolt right up to your transmission. Now, if you go to the junkyard and get one of these, you got to make sure you get 2 pieces, because you have the subframe and then there's supposed to be a radiator support. And what the radiator support does is it comes in from underneath or over top. I can't remember which one, but what it does is it fills up these bushing holes. So you can see I have something in this bushing holes now, but when I got this, it did not. And that means if you were to tighten it up, you'd just be squishing against the bushings until they like blew out. So obviously you can see I went and got my Mark III subframe that I had, because these ones come with inserts in them. They don't have that rad support type thing. So how they are in the Mark III, you can see they're kind of like pressed on. So this will be on the bottom like that. And I just took my air hammer and just blasted the lower portion off. And now I'll just use this on the bolts, which are some long ones. These are M10 by 1.5. They're pretty long, as you can see, because you gotta be able to go up through like that. And what they go into is the bumper brackets on a Mark II. So now, keep in mind, I'm doing the big bumper conversion, but it's also going to be a race car, so I gotta make my own solution for it that's as light as possible. But for the meantime, these are great plates. They work. They already bolt up. I don't have to make anything. If anything, I can cut this off, weld some other stuff to it if I have to. So I'm going to use these. I just took it off of the small bumper that's out there somewhere. I took it off of that so I could use it for this. And then now I'll grease these bolts up, put the big washers on them like that, and they'll squish up. Now this will work, and it would work for someone else. But my whole plan with this is I'm gonna get this stuff in with OEM stuff like this subframe. And then I have an idea in my head of making a solid subframe in the front that goes across. Because keep in mind, this subframe is solid, but then you put mounts in and they kind of isolate. But I plan to make solid mounts for these, the rear engine and transmission mount. And so then that means in the front, this is where most, like 99% of your flex comes from, these bushings. You can see how easy they are to move. So a lot of people always think that they have bad engine mounts, but it's usually just these flexing. I plan to get rid of all this, but I need the engine in the car right now. I need to have it sitting in an OEM factory location so then I can decide what direction to go into. So that's gonna be it for today's video. See, everything's bolted in. I had a problem where these brackets, just old age, were rusty. So I did have to run a tap through them, which was just an M10 by 1.5. But everything's nice and tight. We'll have no issues. And all I need now is to just throw some mounts in and get the engine and trans bolted together, and I can throw it in the car. So that'll be in the next video, guys. If you like what you saw today, give me a like, comment, subscribe. Remember, you guys can definitely do this at home on your own. No reason not to. So keep swaps going, and see you guys in the next one.